All right, everyone. Today, this is going to be a brief video on how to do or how masking or how masks are read within if statements. Um, so this is one thing that I saw in office hours several times, and I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of how masks work when being read by if statements. Um, so I'm going to define a few variables here, and then we'll talk through the problem. Um, I'm going to have A is going to be 1, 2, 3. B is going to be 3, 3, 3. And we'll say C is equal to, let's say, 2.5. And then we have mask 1, M1, is going to be A less than well, let's say greater than. It doesn't really matter. A greater than A greater than C. Oof, man. So A greater than C, and then so just as a comment here, we'll note right that A greater than C is going to be 0, 0, 1, right? Now, A greater than C, yeah. So then M2, mask 2, is going to be B greater than C. And so obviously this is going to be 1, 1, 1. So if you haven't already, if you're confused as to how I got these results, please go watch the video I've made on masking. This is a pretty simple example, and once you've finished watching that, come back here. So these are going to be our masks. Now remember that I'm really just defining these two variables so that I can use them for an if statement. So if I were to say if M1, and then I have some condition, I'll say D equals 1, and then my else would be D equals 0. And then I end my if statement like a good MATLAB student. So what would the result of this be? Well, we've got a 1 in here, but then we've also got 2 zeros. So I think on this MA, this is MA4, I think some of you are thinking that the result of this would end up being something like D equals 0, 0, 1, or maybe if we change this up, right, maybe we, instead of D, what if we'd used A, right? So if I said A equals 1, A equals 0, I think some of you thought that A would go to be, let's make this 2, something like 0, 0, 2. Right? Because we know, well, first position is false. The first position in mask 1 is logical false. And the second position is logical false too. But the third position is logical true, so it'll follow this one. Now, while the intent is good, the execution is off. And there's a reason for that. With the variables that I've defined, you can follow along, type this into your command window, and what you'll find is that if this mask that we're using here has anything other than a 1, it's going to return logical false and go to the else or the else if statements. Now, why does that make sense? How do I rationalize this? Well, the way you have to think about it is if you're putting in a mask, your mask needs to be it needs to be read as if every single element of that mask were its own AND statement. So what this is reading it as, how MATLAB is reading this, is it's saying, okay, we've got some logical statement that's false, and we've got another logical statement that's false, and we've got a logical statement that's true, right? If I read this and I were just saying, okay, what's going to be, is this going to go through my if statement, or is this going to go to my else statement? Immediately I would say, okay, this is going to my else statement. We have an and statement and a false. It's got to. And that is how MATLAB works. So make sure that you understand this. Now, the solution to this is masking. The way to get to this answer here is masking. I'm about to make a much longer video than this one on that. So I hope you guys will go and watch it. I think that with a lot of time, focus, you guys are going to be able to get masking. And hopefully that comes before the exam. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.